You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, well, good evening, America. This is the Jenn and Rick Show coming to you live right now on KLRNradio.com. It is Tuesday, December the 13th, 2016, just a few minutes past the hour of 9 Central, 10 Eastern. And I, of course, am joined by my usual Tuesday, Thursday co-host, Miss Jenn. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just, it's Tuesday.
It's kind of how I've been feeling. Little thrown off this week. So for those of you who've been keeping up, at the day job, I have taken a temporary assignment. I was conned into this temporary assignment by saying, hey, you have some technical troubleshooting experience, and you've done networking and have C+ certification. So we want you to go help out with the help desk, which is a project that's closing where I work. But a lot of the people are starting to transition into other places, so they needed a handful of people. And they were like, don't worry about it. All we're going to have you do is reset the passwords. It'll be easy. It'll be fun. It'll be great. I have just been given a 4-week crash course in everything they do in the last 2 days. Because I'm not just going to be doing password resets. Yay!
Yeah, that sounds not fun.
Actually, it's been kind of interesting. We've actually been there for about a week. So we got about a 2-day crash course, and then we've been doing some working with other people that already know how to do the job to kind of shadow them a little bit. But we've now been there. It will be officially a week tomorrow, and we still don't have most of the accesses that we need to be able to do our job. So we've gone down there to try to help them, and all we really do is feel like we're kind of in the way because everything moves as slow as molasses. But at the same time, I actually started doing the job today while somebody else was shadowing me, and so my brain is fried. I've been using parts of my brain I haven't dusted off since when I tried to go back to college about 6 years ago and finish getting my C+ certification and all the other things that I thought I was going to need once upon a time before I decided to do something else. And it's just funny because, the whole thing, there was an email that was sent out to the main site where I work now, and they were like, hey, they just want to know if it's, especially if it's going to be a closer drive for you. They want to know if you want to go help out here till after the first of the year. And it's going to be really simple because this is all you're going to do, and they'll take care of everything else for you. So I'm like, sure. Well, first of all, it's a closer drive. Second of all, it gets me away from what I've been doing now for nearly 3 years, and thanks to all the budget cutbacks and the changes, I haven't been able to do a lot of the training and everything else that I used to enjoy doing because we don't have any reason to because we haven't been hiring anybody. So it was I was like, sure, I know how to do most of that stuff anyway, and it's a nice change of pace. And then I get down there, and he's like, oh, we're putting you through the whole training, and you're going to get it in 2 days. I'm like, why do I need the training if all I'm going to be doing is resetting passwords? He said, who told you that all you're going to be doing is resetting passwords? It's like, my boss and my boss's boss. And he's like, they lied. I'm like, oh, great. That explains why, because there were 4 of us that were originally supposed to come. There were only 2 of us that actually made the transition. And I have a feeling what they found out was the other 2 that had volunteered had absolutely no technical troubleshooting experience and no type of networking experience. And they were like, yeah, those 2 won't work. And now I'm emailing my boss going, hey, I thought you said this was going to be cake, yo. He's like, it's like,
yeah, too bad, so sad.
But I mean, closer to home, so I haven't been having to leave at like 6 o'clock in the morning for the last several days. So that's been kind of nice. Working a little bit longer, so it does take me just about as much time to get home. So that doesn't really help much, but it is what it is. I think one of the biggest things that has me thrown off is this whole time change because it gets dark at like noon now, and I'm like, I know. What? It's like, do you realize how much work I have to do now after dark? You know how hard it is for me to do anything anymore once the sun goes down? I mean, the sun goes down, and I'm like, okay, it's time for bed. Seriously, why are we still working? And what is this show prep you speak of? And I'm like, and yeah, so it's been an interesting few days. That being said, there have been lots of things that have been going on in the news, and you and I haven't had much of a chance to talk because I've been having my all of my network and internet and troubleshooting experience all crammed back into my brain again, and apparently you weren't feeling well. So
yeah, I got taken out a little bit by kind of a sinus issue. I think it was my allergies finally telling me to take a seat for a few days. And then I found out that my father-in-law, who was supposed to come tomorrow evening, was actually arriving today. So I've been in a mad dash and to get ready. I thought I had already was behind because I lost this weekend where I thought I was going to be able to do some Christmas shopping and get the house ready and, whatever. But anyways, none of that happened. So, and I've barely looked at Twitter, but I do know some of what's going on. So let's talk about it.
So for the record, folks, before I get hate mail, as soon as I found out she wasn't feeling well and had all kinds of things going on, I offered to run a replay. She was like, no, we'll be fine. So nobody hate on me because I didn't force her to do the show today. All right, so anyway, first blush, thoughts on the whole Russian situation?
Oh, man. I do like someone that is a good friend of mine said, really, we were just talking and saying, how much of this would they be screaming about, even if it was still true that it happened, would they be screaming about if Clinton had won? And none of it is good. The interference is not good. The way in which they supposedly were able to hack and get so many of these emails and things is terrible. And I think not only is it terrible from a strength standpoint of our national security and of our country on the global scale, but it's also kind of embarrassing. But then again, this is what my friend pointed out, but I don't think there's going to be such thing as that we're ever going to have an election without interference again. It's just the age we're in. And there's always going to be hackers. There's always going to be internet videos. There's always going to be ways to access information that maybe the parties and the government would like to control and can't. But I mean, Russia scares the crap out of me. So, and I believed Mitt Romney back in 2012, and boy, don't I wish that we had had him having some sort of influence on this government, or at least having someone listen and taking Russia seriously. Because I think that there are so many ways in which they are very bad for the world.
Here's my thoughts on this, because, and it goes back to a question that I was asking all through my show last night. When did the truth become a partisan issue? Because what concerns me isn't necessarily so much the hacking. I mean, let's face it, Podesta lost a phone. Which made everything vulnerable. That's one of the reasons why I don't like the fact that they have all of these supposedly secure ways to communicate, and in this instance, very unsecure ways to communicate that are portable to the point where you can go like, oh crap, I left that in a taxi cab on 45th and 5th Avenue, and I don't know how to get it back. So, I mean, but all things aside, whatever did or did not happen here, why is it not a good idea to find out the truth? So if nothing else, we can try to make sure that something like that doesn't happen again. When did the truth become a partisan issue? And for all of the people that are right now trying to excuse whatever may or may not have happened with the Russians and their either limited or broad involvement, depending on who you listen to, would you be doing the same if Hillary had won the election? And vice versa. Right. Because that's my problem. What I'm noticing, and it happens every single time, and every single time we're always told it's going to be different this time. But what happens every single time is the party that wasn't in power slides into the point of being in power and having control of all of the major branches of government and the ability to impact the Supreme Court, etc. And then everything that they were griping that the other party was doing, because they shouldn't do that because it's un-American, is now perfectly acceptable and fine. And the party that was just basically using the Constitution as toilet paper has now become the minority party, and they are doing much the same thing that they were just pointing and laughing at the former minority party for doing. Say, well, we're in charge now. And now it's, well, we're not in charge anymore, so none of this stuff is okay. I'm tired of the hypocrisy everywhere. I'm done with it, because this is my thing. I am less concerned about the fact that the Russians may or may not have influenced our elections as I am with the fact that nobody seems to give a damn whether or not the Russians may or may not have somehow managed to impact our elections. Because let me tell you, I mean, it's just like you said, now that they figured out a way to do it, it's never going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also that there are some things here. The right is kind of being, once again, torn apart on this issue. And I think some of it's because there are the people that are just, so anti-Trump, so never Trump, that they want to believe anything to discredit him. So much like liberals. So they are buying into this very bigly that this actually changed the election to such an extent that basically it was stolen for Trump. And then they go to various degrees of discussing whether he had actual knowledge or involvement. And then you've got the other side that's like, well, so completely pro-Trump and no way, and who cares? He'll take care of Putin, or even going so far as to saying that, that Russia is good and we can be a team with Russia. And because they took down the Democrats, that means that, they're our allies, which is just so dangerous and wrong. Such a mistake to make, to think that. But I hope the people that are higher up wouldn't be so careless. But then there's also this group of us in the middle that we talk about a lot. And we're kind of fighting too, because I think for me, I can criticize Trump and be concerned. I can be concerned about this and still not think that this is, call it a stolen election, but still criticize him and still be worried about what it is that happened and how far Russia was able to go to influence this election. and that we absolutely should have some sort of investigation into it. Now, I just don't have the greatest of faith in any sort of committee that would oversee something like this. So I just don't know that it really matters. I mean, Hillary, they couldn't nail Hillary down, for goodness sakes, after multiple committees and the FBI being involved. So I just don't have a lot of faith in them getting us any real answers. But I can be mad at all of it. You know, I can be skeptical of Russia. I can be critical of Trump, but I can also still think that this was mostly a fair election, that he won outright. So it's what it is.
And that's been my take on it all along too. But it annoys me because we have people on all sides of the argument right now that are like, "Oh, you're just making a big deal about nothing." No, I'm making a big deal about the fact that for the first time in my lifetime, we actually have watched a foreign body possibly become involved in our elections. And if that's true, all I want to know is did that happen? And how much of an impact did it have? Not necessarily because I'm hoping it's going to overturn this one, but to make sure that they don't have the ability to do those type of things in the future. And again, don't get me wrong, because most of what the Russians did technically cannot by definition be considered a hack. At best, it's a leak, even if they were the ones that were behind it, because the actual definition of a hack is to forcibly force your way into a system and make changes to coding to basically cause a malfunction. That is actually the textbook definition of a hack, a bit of a paraphrase. So even if the Russians were involved in this, the fact that they keep throwing around the word hack is kind of a bit of a misnomer. Not to mention the fact that everybody keeps talking about how they may or may not have gotten this information. The only possible way that it could have been gotten was likely through Podesta's phone, because this server was not something that was easily accessible to begin with, and that's something else that nobody's really talking about. We're actually talking about what would be considered, in essence, a closed network. Limited number of people had access to it, limited number of people had the ability to get into it, and it wasn't something that was just going to be able to be brute force hacked. So the simple fact of the matter is, if and when this happened, it likely did happen much the way they were able to ascertain later, and it was probably done through someone who forgot to change his password and left his phone somewhere that somebody was able to find it. But regardless of that fact, whatever the causal factor is here, we still have to determine whether or not there was another country tacitly or illicitly involved in our elections. And if there were, we need to take steps to make sure that cannot happen again. And that has been my complaint about this all along, because just like you said, I can be skeptical of Trump and still be trying to give him the benefit of the doubt while realizing that Russia has never really been our friend, really doesn't ever plan on being our friend, and also revel in the fact that Hillary got squashed like a bug. None of those three things are incompatible with each other. So why it is that we can't be standing in the middle looking at this and going, yes, the Clinton machine got toasted, but I'm not so sure about this guy over here, and we really need to figure out whether or not the Russians had anything to do with the fact that we got this guy over here, if nothing else, to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. I don't understand why. I mean, why is it so hard now to remain level-headed and look at something and say, we honestly need to find the truth? Not because I want anything to change with the election, not because I think it will change the election, because there's really no way to do that at this point, but we need to find out the truth, and the truth is not a partisan issue. And I'm tired of everybody being like, oh my God, you just want the Russians to have thrown the election because you're not a fan of Trump. No, that's not what I said. I want to know what they did, how they did it, and make sure that we don't have it happen again. And apparently one of the really easy ways to make sure that we don't have that ever happen again is to make sure that no one is allowed to have a private server stashed in their bathroom. Is that too much to ask for? Apparently it is.
Apparently it is. And apparently it can just be brushed off as no big deal and not of any sort of security concern, and you will be infallible before Congress. But to the Podesta email point, today it came out that there was, when Clinton's campaign chairman was John Podesta at the time, and he had a cyber attack, and they thought someone had breached his email account, and it looked like it came from Gmail telling him to change his password immediately. And so an aide took this email and sent it to a computer technician asking if it was legitimate. They meant to say it was illegitimate, and instead they said, this is a legitimate email. He needs to change his password immediately, which means he probably went through the email to do so, which is what it's trying to prompt you to do. So basically a typo could have opened up Podesta's emails to everybody. A typo.
It wasn't a typo.
That's crazy.
It was somebody that couldn't type English. The dude got fished.
Well, that's why I said, yeah. But I mean, it's like, so he meant to say this is an illegitimate email, change the password. It says that it's a legitimate email, change the password. So who knows? I mean, that could have immediately opened up his entire account. And like you said, that's not hacking. That's, unfortunately, that's capitalizing on someone being an idiot and then, leaking the information that you were able to obtain.
And here's my thing with it. I don't know. Part of it is, the whole thing of, the CIA is like, well, this was definitely done to help Trump, and we have an anonymous source that says so. And the FBI is like, well, we're pretty sure the Russians might have been involved, but we're not sure why and have no real proof as to whether or not it's done anything one way or the other. I'm sorry, but at this point, I think I side more with the FBI because I don't do anonymous sources. I just don't.
Right. Well, and that's kind of been the issue with several things now, as they've said, oh, the CIA definitely has said this, or that, or blah, blah. Well, no, they haven't. You're putting that in your headline. You're writing this entire article as if the CIA or the FBI have said anything conclusively and publicly, and they haven't. It's all unnamed sources. It's all aides that know this, or it's all anonymous. And until there is something verifiable, I'm just not willing to say off with their heads. So that's why there needs to be an investigation and why we need to try to kind of get to the bottom of this. But I think most people that are really angry about this on the left need to ask themselves that had she won anyways, would they still be as angry? And would they be calling for what they're calling for now, which is basically to delegitimize the election and undermine Trump and possibly take the presidency from him? And I don't think that they would. Would they say, well, Hillary doesn't deserve it? Hillary doesn't deserve it because it was affected? I mean, I don't think that they would if it was swinging the other way. So I don't like that activism, that political activism aspect of it. I want to know what happened and why so that we can protect our nation and not because of a particular party or candidate.
No, exactly. And, just to put the show on the other foot here, if this was the exact reverse scenario where for some reason, even with all this involvement, somehow Hillary Clinton had managed to win the White House and win the electoral vote, I guarantee you that not only would the left be holding the position of the right now, the majority of the right would be holding the position of the left. And again, that's something that is driving me insane because there are no principles involved in anything anymore. It's all cause and effect and outcome. That's all this is about. It's what can we do to make sure we get from point A to point B in a way that we expect. Principles be damned. And that's what I'm so tired of seeing everywhere because that's exactly where it is now. It's everywhere. That's like those of us that stood in the middle and said, look, I'm not voting for him and I'm not voting for her because I can't see either one of them doing a good job at running the country with what we've seen from their behavior and their actions. We were the ones that were vilified. Actually, Dan and I have a guest coming on Friday. Sadly, for the moment, her last name escapes me. I think it's Williams. I think she wrote an article that was actually lambasted by Sean Hannity because she basically took Sean apart with his love of Trump, and she just got eviscerated on Twitter. So much so that some folks that we know actually were involved in that thread. And they actually got chastised by the people that they work for. Because apparently you don't go after Sean Hannity if you work for a certain company that I shall not name. But it was just kind of an interesting scenario. So she's actually going to be on with us on Friday, which surprised me because Dan was like, hey, I think I can get Susan for Friday. I'm like, no way, dude. And he's like, yep, she's in. And I'm like, okay, that's it. You're doing all the bookings from now on.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. But anyway, so we'll get to talk a little bit about that article and what made her decide to write it and face the wrath of the... she has a nickname for them that I don't think I've heard before that I actually kind of like. She calls them the Branch Trepidians. I was like, that's really good.
Oh, my gosh.
So I think I may steal that one.
Trepidians. Oh, my gosh, I like it.
Well, the Branch Trumpidians with a D. I have a bit of a sinus thing going on myself, so every once in a while the words don't sound quite right. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to that on Friday. So I hope everybody tunes in for that on Robinson and Wright. And believe it or not, I think we're already coming up on a break. Wow.
All right.
All right, so we've got to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to keep talking about the stuff that's been happening in the news. Actually, when we come right back from break, I have some audio from Trey Gowdy that I think may be fairly new. And then we have some sad news in case you haven't heard. But this is Jen and Rick with the Jen and Rick Show, and we'll be right back here in just a couple minutes.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey, folks.
If I could, 'cause I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is Jen and Rick, and it is, again, Thursday, December 13th, 2016, and we're coming to you live from KLRNradio.com. Now, for those of you who may have been living under a rock for the last few hours, we just found out that one of my favorite TV dads of all time has passed away, Alan Thicke, at the age of 69. As somebody who's creeping up on that age, it starts tripping me out when people that are not that much older than I am start dropping over dead, which is happening a lot more lately. It makes me kind of paranoid.
Yeah, I'm quite sad about this one. I don't know. I don't get like overly emotional about celebrity deaths or anything, but there are some that just kind of go, wow, that sucks. And I think this one sucks, especially, I always think that the ones where there's no warning can be some of the hardest. But anyways, it's just sad. He had actually just tweeted a few hours before about his appearance on Fuller House this coming season with Bob Saget and, of course, Kirk Cameron's little sister, Candace Cameron, who was on that show with Bob Saget while Kirk was on the show with Alan Thicke. So just,
Yeah, it was kind of a weird crossover moment. But honestly, I actually had watched that episode over the weekend, and I was wondering if he might not have been kind of sick at the time of the shoot, because he just didn't look the same as the last time I saw him on TV. But then again, I thought maybe it was just the character that he was playing, and it just seems kind of odd because, for those of you who don't know, Fuller House is actually on Netflix, so it's one of those things where basically they release everything all at once. So once the season's out, it's just out. But it's odd because whoever's writing this is used to writing network TV, because so far they've done for this season they've done like a Halloween episode, a Thanksgiving episode, and I'm like, man, that really doesn't work when you're not airing them around the right times. But it's still a cute show to watch. I'm not saying go binge watch it like I did for half this weekend, because I'm just terrible. I try to stay off of Netflix on purpose, because if there's something that I like when I start watching it, I can't stop. And the sad thing about Netflix is anymore, a lot of the shows that they know are going to be on Netflix that are like thrillers or suspense, every single episode ends in a cliffhanger. So you're like, okay, I'm just gonna watch this one more, and then the cliffhanger hits, and you're like, okay, now I gotta see what happens next. Damn it! And you look up, and it's 3:00 in the morning, and your wife's standing in the entryway to the den with her arms folded on her. You ever gonna come to bed? I'm like, you don't understand. It's just cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger. I can't turn it off, man. But anyway, kind of got sidetracked there, but. Really, really sad to hear about Alan Thicke. Grew up watching the TV show that he was in, and then, of course, for a while. I don't. I always get him and Bergeron confused. I don't think he ever actually did a stint on America's Funniest Home Videos, but I do remember him from the show with.
No, but he did a couple other game show type things.
Maybe that's where
he's hosted several things. So yeah, he actually tweeted May 29th of 2012. This is blowing up on Twitter, of course. Live life so completely that when death comes to you like a thief in the night, there will be nothing left for him to steal.
Well, I would say that he's probably managed to pull that off. I mean, he'd basically done everything that he wanted to do for as long as I've been alive. So, I mean, I think he might have been one of the ones that managed to get it right. And, I mean, I don't know. That's always been kind of my thing is, you only get one life, so don't waste it. I mean, if there's something that you've always wanted to do and you're afraid to do it, as long as it's not going to cause you to, if you're not gonna definitely die from it and you're not gonna hurt anybody else, then what does it hurt to actually try? I mean, that's actually, again, part of the reason why I'm doing the things that I do now, because never in a million years would I have ever thought that I would be a syndicated talk show host and do hours of radio a week and all the other things that I've actually started doing, because I just decided, you know what, life's short, I'm gonna try it and see what happens. So, I mean, the one thing that I would say to everybody that's looking at Alan Thicke and going, man, he's dead at 69, and if you're around my age, that's really not that much older than we are now. So all I'm going to say to you is the same thing that I'm sure a lot of other folks are saying around the globe right now, with all the other deaths that happen every single day that impact everybody in one way or the other. Don't waste the life that you have. Find a way to make a difference. Find a way to do something with the time that you have. Even if it's just in a small way, to make people's lives better. There are ways to do things that everybody takes for granted until they actually do them. One of them actually was kind of brought out to my attention today, because for those of you who may not know, Oklahoma has a professional basketball team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we have been kind of bashing on Kevin Durant for running off with the Golden State girlfriends now for the last several months. But the interesting thing is, Oklahoma and Oklahoma City had made such an impact on him, even now that he's playing somewhere else. He donated $58,000 to a school that is actually specifically run as a tuitionless school. It's a tuitionless grade school for homeless children and their families. And even though he's now in California and thousands of miles away from us, he is still giving money back here to a project that he has been involved with for the entire time that he's been here. And it's just things like that. Now, I'm not saying go cash out your savings account and give it to somebody who needs it, but I'm saying find a way to make a difference with whatever talents you have and whatever time you have, and that's important. Alan Thicke did those things. He made people's lives different by giving them a few minutes a day where they could turn on a TV and escape from whatever else was going on in their lives and laugh for a few minutes. It's why shows like that are popular to this day, because it's a complete disconnect from everything that's going on. So just find a way to use your talents appropriately and make sure that you do something not only to make the world a better place, but just your immediate circle a better place. Because the simple fact of the matter is, if you're doing that, then you're going to wind up not regretting anything, I promise. Because the only thing that you're ever going to regret in your life is looking back going, man, I really wish I would have done that. So all I'm going to say is we're looking at one person's life being snuffed out, which was Alan Thicke, at a fairly young age. I mean, I know to some of you that are listening, 69 seems like, oh my God, the dude was ancient. Trust me, 69 seems a lot younger now than it did when I was in my 20s, because that's only 26 years away from me now. So just don't waste it. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I kind of prattled on there for a minute.
Nope, it's all right. So another one bites the dust in 2016. What more can it do to us?
Oh, no. Stop. That's the problem. Everybody keeps saying, well, it can't get any worse. And then it does. So just stop. I mean, there's only, we've only got 18 days left? Come on, we can just batten down the hatches for 18 more days, right? Quit tempting fate, guys. Just saying.
I'm just going to throw myself into full-on Christmas mode and not care about anything else. Oh, man. Well, kind of speaking of life, part of the circle of life is also being born, and Kasich signed the 20-week abortion ban in Ohio, which brought out all the lovely abortion Barbie attacks, one of which was from a PP rep in Colorado who said, a 20-week ban is a blatant attack on women's health. We will not stand for this. I'm sorry, but at 20 weeks, you are almost 5 months pregnant. If you cannot get your crap together to be able to decide whether or not this is a baby you are going to birth or it is a clump of cells you are going to destroy by the time you are almost 5 months pregnant, then what the heck are you even doing? I don't understand this at all. I can understand people kind of crying out if it was a 12-week thing. People don't even know they're pregnant sometimes. I didn't with my first until I was almost 12 weeks along. But 5 months, 20 weeks, that's an extremely long time to grapple with this decision, and plenty of time to make it. I don't think there are babies that are viable in the mid 20-week, portion of the pregnancy. So to me, this is not even a hard line to draw, and they fought over it, and they've, lost their cookies over it in every single state that's enforced it or has come up with it. But I'm proud of Kasich. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I'm proud of him for doing this, and we'll see if it holds. But the typical abortion crazies were out all day today because of it.
It's interesting that you bring that up because it actually reminded me of something that I was going to talk about. So at this point, I'm sure everybody knows that in Oklahoma, they actually they did pass a law that stated that for an abortion clinic to be present within the state of Oklahoma, there had to have been a doctor that was present with hospital admitting privileges. I'll remember how to talk here in a second. The interesting thing is there was a group out of New York that had filed an appeal against that law, and a lower court had sided with the state and said the law stood. Well, the Oklahoma Supreme Court spoke today, and guess what? It is unconstitutional to require that there be a doctor present with hospital admitting privileges in a clinic that is going to perform abortions. Why that may seem outrageous is because most of the time you can't even have dental surgery without having a doctor present that has hospital administrating privileges.
Absolutely, and coming from someone who has had a lot of dental work done and several extractions and implants, I've had all the orthodonture work you can imagine. My dentists, my doctors were not allowed to not have either ambulatory services on site or admitting privileges at a hospital. This is not that hard to understand. And also, if you are so pro woman's health and care, why would that not be something you want? I understand that sometimes it makes it a little bit more expensive, but especially when you're talking about in the case of organizations like Planned Parenthood, they have the money. They're choosing not to. If they leave areas in a state because of it, they are choosing to shut down, or they were already floundering to begin with in that area. So they blame it on these, the passings of some of these bills and some of these bans. And it's, like most everything with them, it's completely shady and untrue. But that is not a high demand to put on. And if you really are concerned about the safety of women, then you would be all for that.
I don't understand, because when the Supreme Court handed down their decision today, they said that law would severely impact women's ability to seek abortions as a form of health care. I don't understand. I mean, what is your argument that if you're going to have something that is basically a surgery to remove, even if you're going to use the term fetus, from the body of a woman, in case something goes sideways, why would you not require that there either be some sort of ambulatory services, or that one of the doctors present have some form of hospital admitting privileges to make sure that if something went wrong, they could get the kind of help that they needed? Because I don't see that as being an unreasonable request, especially when, again, if you're going to have dental surgery in most states, they are required to either be able to have an ambulance standing by to get you to the hospital in case something goes wrong, or have a doctor there that can actually process the admission to the hospital. So I don't understand why this is such a terrible idea.
These are the same people that want to, that typically are on board with ridiculously regulating the nail industry, the massage industry. I mean, they are totally for cracking down on all of those, pop-up nail salons and things like that. But, oh, no, you're going to go in and take a baby out of my uterus, back off. Whatever doctor I say is necessary is fine. But for everybody else and all sorts of other health regulations, I'm going to tell you what standards you must meet, no matter how ridiculous. But in this case, back off, stay out of my vagina, get out of my womb, yada, 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 because obviously this will be just fine the way it is. And, I've known people that have had complications from abortions, and two people that have had very severe ones, in which case they were no longer able to have children. So they can blow it off all they want to, and it may be a fairly routine procedure overall, but it's still a procedure that is invasive and is serious.
Yeah, and that's the part that I don't guess I understand, because it's not like you're going in to have a hangnail removed. It's not like you're going in because you have an ingrown hair on your belly button. We're talking about an invasive surgical procedure. So why it is that they can't put common sense practices in place that says, hey, if you're going to have an invasive surgical procedure, you need to be able to have some way to deal with it in case things don't go as planned. And how that is suddenly, that is restrictive and blah, 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 yada, 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 and that's terrible. And it's like you said. I mean, these are the same people. I mean, look, before I started doing radio talk shows and working for satellite TV companies and all the other things that I've done in the last 10 years of my spare time, and working, etc., I ran my own business. That was as a private investigator, and then I also ran a security firm. You would not believe the type of hoops that even here in Oklahoma you have to jump through to be able to run your own business. There are filing fees that you have to pay. There are certain things that you have to do, and then there's all of these different labor board requirements and all of these different insurance policies that you have to have, and the workman's comp insurance, and then there's the licensing requirements for the type of work that I was going to do, and then there's the requirements for classes to make sure that I knew how to do my job, and then there was the continuing education that you had to do. And depending on which license it was, each one had their own continuing education requirements. So I was going to have to be in class almost as much time as I was working to be able to keep the requirements up. Not to mention all of the different classes I had to go through for firearms training and all the different recertifications I had to do for that. Because, unlike with the concealed carry, it's not fire and forget, where once you get it, that's it. You actually have to go back in every so often and recertify and make sure that you can still hit what you're aiming at, etc. And then there's first aid stuff that you had to keep up with, and all of these other little things that you had to take just to be able to keep your license up to date. And it got to the point where it was costing me almost a month's salary a year to keep up with all the different classes that I was having to take. just to be able to stay in business. And those are the type of things that I'm talking about. And it doesn't really seem to matter who has control of the reins, because no matter who's running the show, that type of stuff doesn't ever really seem to change. And that was one of the things that I first started noticing when I was looking. I'm like, look, things for the most part don't change very much here in Oklahoma, whether we have a Democrat in the governorship or a Republican in the governorship, because they all seem to be doing the same thing, which is chasing ways to line the coffers. And that's when I started really digging into politics and everything else and going, at this point, are there really two separate parties anymore? Are they kind of one and the same? And I think, honestly, that was the biggest thing that I noticed this year for me, is there really are no clear lines between the parties anymore, not even at the national level. There just aren't. And it's all kind of one and the same, where it's all about different ways to make money and grab money. Now, some of these picks that Trump has made over the last few weeks to start filling in his cabinet positions have breathed a little bit of life into my hope that maybe things will be different under this president. But it's still nothing but hopes and wishes at this point, because nothing's happened yet. He hasn't been sworn in, so I don't know where we're going to wind up. I did think it was kind of funny that Governor Perry was appointed to the agency that he forgot existed.
I thought it was hilarious. But also, if people really understood anything more than just Texas governor and Dancing with the Stars and flubbed at the debate, before, then they would know that he's actually been heavily invested in energy all of his adult life, and it has a really good background and everything there. He will run into a few issues if they wish to, if Congress has concerns. He's connected with the Dakota Access Pipeline. He's the director currently, since 2015, he's the director of Energy Trade Partners, ETP, and owns stock in the company. And they're the company that owns the land and is pushing the project. He's also said before that he'd eliminate the DOE. So that could bring some problems. But overall, I mean, I think it's a pretty solid pick. I think we all knew something was coming for him because of his shift at the end of the campaign and moving forward against Hillary. He went from being pretty anti-Trump to sitting up there with Giuliani and Christie on several occasions. So you knew something was up, something was coming for him. And then you've got Tillerson, which I just don't know enough about. I do know that Condoleezza Rice, here's what she posted on her Facebook. I was kind of surprised to see. Rex Tillerson is an excellent choice for Secretary of State. He will bring to the post remarkable and broad international experience, a deep understanding of the global economy, and a belief in America's special role in the world. I know Rex is a successful businessman and a patriot. He will represent the interests and the values of the United States with resolve and commitment, and he will lead the exceptional men and women of the State Department with respect and dedication. I look forward to supporting Rex through the confirmation process, blah, blah, blah. So that was kind of unexpected. And there's a few other key people that I was like, oh, they're actually endorsing this pick. I don't know enough about him, so I don't have much to say on that. But I think Perry is, pretty solid and whatever. We'll see if he gets through with all of his Keystone and Dakota Access Pipeline, ties.
Well, here's my thing with Perry. It's kind of the same thing that I thought when I found out that he was eyeing Pruitt for head of the EPA. Who better to put in charge of an agency than the guy that said that he was going to disband it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, let's put someone in there that is, going to be skeptical, is going to be critical, is actually cares and worried about how, what money is being spent and how efficient they are, and whether it's even worth keeping it open. I mean, I do. I think that's great. That's what consultant firms are hired for all the time, for companies trying to right themselves and trying to progress, to a better future. So why not put a couple people like that in there? I think, that's probably a good thing.
No, I mean, exactly. I mean, and going back to the Perry, or not the Perry, but the Pruitt pick, while we've got a couple minutes left here. The thing that I keep hearing from everybody is that he's going to completely gut the EPA and get them to the point where they can't do anything. I don't think anything could be further from the truth, because Scott Pruitt has never once said that he's a fan of dirty water and dirty air. What he has said is he thinks the EPA has become a behemoth that overreaches its authority on a regular basis and does so routinely, and I happen to agree with him. So if we can actually get that organization shrunk back down to the point where it's actually fulfilling its original mandate instead of all the crazy other things that they've managed to get their fingers into only because it's a way to justify their continued funding, I think that's a good thing. Now, as far as Perry being in charge of the Energy Department, I think that's a good thing, because he specifically said if it were up to me, that department wouldn't exist. Who better to send in there than somebody who doesn't think the department needs to exist? Because at least he's going to look at it from an objective point of view and say, look, do we really need to be spending all of this money? Can we find any way to cut any of this? And if we can, is it going to impact anything? And that's one of the reasons why these are the two picks that I actually really like. I'm a little disappointed that he didn't go ahead and go with Romney as SOS. First of all, it would have been nice to watch the rest of the alt-right's heads explode when Romney was named.
Absolutely.
And it would have been entertaining. And I'm sad that did not happen. I, just like you, I don't know really enough about Tillerson to be able to make an informed decision as to whether or not I think he would be a good Secretary of State. But let's face it, we've had John the California Raisin Kerry and Hillary the Butcher of Benghazi Clinton as the two most recent Secretary of States. I don't think it can get much worse, no matter who they put in there. I mean, unless they suddenly find a way to clone Attila the Hun and say, hey, guess what? You're now our Secretary of State. I don't think it can get much worse than it's been for the last 8 years. I'm just being completely honest.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a high bar set here.
And I hate to sound like one of those people that I talked poorly about all the time, but there really hasn't been a very high bar set in quite some time. And that's one of the things that I'm tired of seeing as well, is, all these people that are like, well, you guys are mad because Russia may have done this, but you're forgetting that Hillary gave Russia uranium. And I'm like, no, I'm not forgetting that. I'm just as upset that happened. But why can I not be mad that that's happened and also be looking at this going, okay, so why was Russia up in our Kool-Aid again? And why is that okay now? Because I'm confused. But anyway, believe it or not, we are officially out of time. We're actually running over, which is okay, because while we have been doing this show, I have been slowly just kind of dropping and dwindling. So I think I'm going to put up a replay for the one behind us. Just, I'm glad you were here, because otherwise this would have been a rambling mess, I think. But anyway, so why don't you remind folks where it is that they can hang out with you when you are not on the radio hanging out with me?
Come find me on Twitter at jhomestead and JR Homestead on Facebook and misfitpolitics.weebly.com.
All right, and I, of course, am Rick Robinson. You can hang out with me on Twitter at AOTR_host. That is going to be one of the best places to hang out with me right now, so if you'd like to follow along there, feel free to do so. I do try to follow back unless you're completely crazy. I will usually watch you for a few days before I decide whether I'm going to. So if you do follow, don't be offended if I don't immediately click the follow button. Just give it a few days. I'll kind of watch your timeline a little bit, as long as you're not actively attacking people or saying crazy things, then you'll probably get a follow back. But on that note, we are out. Up next, there will be a best of for Off the Rails, an unintended best of, by the way. As we've been doing this show, it's just become apparent that I'm not going to be able to hold an intelligent conversation by myself for 60 minutes. So we're going to put up a replay and save you guys the torture. And then I will be back live tomorrow night, as I usually am, and then, of course, I'll be back again on Thursday for both this show and Off the Rails. But we're going to get out of here, and I will see you guys when I see you. Take care. God bless. Have a good night.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not